Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope all of you are doing well. So in this video, I will be discussing about Jacques Lacan and his concept of psychoanalysis. So let's start. So Jacques Lacan was a French psychoanalyst and psychiatrist who has been called the most controversial psychoanalyst since Freud. He said that unconscious is structured like a language and meaning is a network of differences. Lacan listened to the sounds of the letter of language and language structure. He was also called as French Freud. He also discussed the Freud concepts as well. According to Lacan, the psyche can be divided into three major structures that control our lives and our desires. The first one is the real stage. The second one is the imaginary order or stage. The third one is the symbolic order or stage. Now, what is the real stage? So, this concept marks the state of nature from which we have been forever served by our entrance into language. Only as neonatal children were close to this state of nature, a state in which there is nothing but need. A baby needs and seeks to satisfy those needs with no sense for any separation between itself and the external world or the world of others. For this reason, Lacan sometimes represents this state of nature as a time of fullness or completeness. This is subsequently lost through the entrance into language. As far as humans are concerned, however, the real is impossible, as Lacan was fond of saying. It is impossible insofar as we cannot express it in language, because the very entrance into language marks our irrevocable separation from the real. In this state, the infants from 1 to 6 months of the stage attach to their mothers, and they do not have his or her own identity, and he or she does not have sense of the world. Now, what is the second state, that is the imaginary stage? So this concept corresponds to the mirror stage and marks the movement of the subject from primal need to what Lacan terms demand. As the connection to the mirror stage suggests, the imaginary is primarily narcissistic, even though it sets the stage for the fantasies of desires. In this stage, child begins to recognize that its body is separate from the world and it is mother. It begins to feel anxiety, and which is caused by a sense of something lost. This stage is from 6 to 18 months. In this stage, child's sense of self develops, and he understands that in this world there is other people as well except her mother. Indeed, the imaginary and the symbolic are, according to Lacan, inextricably intertwined and work in tension with the real. Now, what is the third stage, that is called symbolic stage? Whereas the imaginary is all about equation and identification, the symbolic is about language and narratives. Once a child enters into a language and accepts the rules and dictates of society, it is able to deal with others. The acceptance of language rules is aligned with the Oedipus complex, according to Lacan. Whereas the real concern need and the imaginary concerned with demands, the symbolic is all about desires. According to Lacan, once we enter into language, our desires is forever, afterwards bound up with the play of language. We should keep in mind, however, that the real and the imaginary continue to play a part in the evolution of human desires within the symbolic order. The fact that our fantasies always fail before the real, for example, ensures that we continue to desire. Desire in the symbolic order could in fact be said to be our way to avoid coming into full contact with the real. So that desire is ultimately most interested not in obtaining the object of desire, but rather in reproducing itself. So real concerned with need, imaginary concerned with demands. The third stage is symbolic, it connects with the desires. So in the real stage, child basically is unable to understand his own self. In the second stage, child begins to understand his own self, that is called the imaginary stage. The last stage is symbolic stage, in which child begins to acquire language. Now, what is the similarities and differences between Freud and Lacan? So there are some similarities and differences between Lacan and Freud as well. The unconscious is important for both Lacan and Freud, as Freud deals with the human mind only. Lacan goes beyond the human mind and interprets the inner working of language in terms of how the mind works in a human being. So the second is that Sigmund Freud basically talk about conscious, unconscious, while Lacan talk about real, imaginary and symbolic in three ways. He talk about the psychic level in three levels, while Freud talk about the two level, conscious and unconscious mind, while he also talk about pre-conscious or subconscious mind, but it is not very important than conscious and unconscious mind. So that's all from my side. If you have any queries, you can ask me in the comment section. Please like, subscribe and share my channel. Thank you for watching.